Hi, buddy. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here at the Miserable Liberal and Ron Placone.
I'm miserable.
Hello.
So guess what? We promised you that there was some people in New York City who had a solution to our net neutrality problems. And, well, here we go. Here's the article. Anti-authority tech rebels take on ISPs, connect New York City with cheap Wi-Fi. Huh? What? So it's called New York Mesh, NYC Mesh, run by volunteers, is offering New Yorkers affordable wireless internet. How? What? It's a promise that seems almost too good to be true. Super fast internet that's cheap, free of contracts and hassles that come with major service providers? Come on.
It sounds like most other countries that have as much wealth as us.
That's
crazy.
It does sound like that. It sounds almost as good as Latvia. Think I'm kidding? Look it up. Latvia, I'm pretty sure, has... That's not a pipe dream for Brian Hall. So this guy, Brian Hall, he's the lead volunteer behind the community group NYC Mesh, which aims to bring affordable internet with lightning-quick downloads to everyone in New York, one building at a time. How does that work? How are they going to bring affordable internet with lightning-quick downloads to New Yorkers, one building at a time? Well,
I bet they use ponies. That's what I bet.
Yeah, it's probably a pony. So here, watch this.
Let's break this down. Picture a spider web of wireless connections. The signal from the supernode travels more than 3 kilometers, and a mesh of antennas spread out on rooftops or balconies receive that signal. Then, using Wi-Fi, other antennas repeat the signal. Each supernode could connect thousands of users.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. It's just... It's doable. I mean, it's so doable.
Super doable, and they're doing it right now in New York City. Our typical speeds are 80 to 110 megabits a second, Hall says, pointing out that streaming something like Netflix only requires about 5. Zach Giles is one of the brains behind the network and is one of the busiest volunteers. When he's not working his day job in finance, he's maintaining the supernode. The rooftop has become his second office. He's a mesh network evangelist who says most people don't realize they don't need to rely on traditional ISPs to get online. That's the myth of the ISP, Giles says, in between installing another antenna. The internet doesn't really cost you anything. It's just the connection that has a fee. So however you can get plugged in, then you're on the internet. Nobody owns the internet, and there's no one to pay.
That sounds like communism.
Sounds like communism. Starting out over a city of millions with so many potential users, Giles says he wishes he could shout out that message for everyone to hear, that there are other and cheaper ways to connect to the internet than corporate ISPs. But where does the initial... So, like on this thing, here, let me play this again for us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's break this down. Picture a spider web of wireless connections. The signal from the supernode travels more than 3 kilometers.
It starts with the supernode.
So it starts with the supernode.
It starts with the supernode, which is just the piece that's basically the antenna.
So that's
how you get, the internet, and then it goes out via wireless networks, and it's placed, strategically on the buildings.
So this supernode,
mm-hmm.
which its signal can travel 3,000 kilometers.
3
kilometers, not 3,000?
Yeah.
Really? Let me listen.
And a mesh of antennas spread out on rooftops or balconies receive that signal. Then, using Wi-Fi...
Oh, did he just say
Let's break this down. Picture a spider web of wireless connections. The signal from the supernode travels more than 3 kilometers.
Oh, you are correct. 3 kilometers. I was incorrect. So 3 kilometers, 3,000, that'd be far.
That'd be a lot. Yeah, that'd be pretty...
So 3 kilometers. So this would be like the home base. This is like your router or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And then it sends out, okay, so I'm dumb, but I think I understand how this works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the tech side fully either, but yeah, it's pretty, this is the big thing, and this channels it out everywhere else, and this seems like a very efficient and affordable way to get municipal broadband to other cities and communities. I went recently here in Pasadena.
Yes.
We got the municipal internet on an agenda. So this organization, they made a proposal Their proposal didn't even mention the words net neutrality, and no, they didn't. It was disappointing, but I was there, and they basically said, "Hey, AT&T's got our back." That was their conclusion.
Corporations always have your back,
Right? Of course. And so I spoke at it and I said, look, you guys didn't even bring up net neutrality. And also, they said that we couldn't afford it. Now, what they were basing it off of is in Beverly Hills, here in the area. Beverly Hills is doing fiber to the home, which is just basic, like literally fiber being stretched all across the city and into people's homes. They're doing that project in Beverly Hills. That's the most expensive way you can go about it, and it's going to cost them $1 or $2. Beverly Hills doesn't care. They have the money. They want to do it, so they're doing it. So just using that one, for instance, that was how they determined how much it would cost here in Pasadena. And they said, well, it would cost over $130 million because they just, did the mileage of Pasadena compared to the households and just did the math. But when I spoke, I brought up, I was like, look, there's supernodes, there's mesh networks. There's way more than one way to do this, and I have a feeling there's plenty of affordable ways to do this. So we need to continue this conversation.
And what did they say to you?
A few people on city council kind of started getting on, Team Municipal Internet. And they started asking questions, and they started asking questions about net neutrality too. The mayor and the industry guy glared at me, but everybody else was happy.
Mayor Tornick, he really just wants to build buildings.
Yeah, he's a corporatist developer. So here's the video of Rod at the Pasadena City Council meeting just last week. Here it is. At 5/8.
To plead for the case of Municipal Internet. And so I did want to say, to start, I wanted to say thank you guys for doing this. Thank you for getting it on the agenda and for the presentation. The conclusions are a bit of a disappointment. The reason that we're here is because of net neutrality, which wasn't in this presentation. It was brought up briefly at the end. And that is a very significant concern. Our way to solve that issue is to take the internet infrastructure out of the hands of corporate interests and put them into the hands of the public, and that needs to be done nationwide. This conclusion is celebrating those private hands that we want to take the internet out of. I do agree that this conversation needs to be continued. I certainly understand the cost concerns, the orchestration concerns. This is a big project, and if it's done poorly or not right, it could be a very costly mistake. That's very true, and that applies to any community. On the same note, I find it hard to believe that a Chattanooga, Tennessee, or a Longmont, Colorado has some kind of golden token that we can't figure out here in Pasadena. There's more than one way to go about this. There's supernodes, there's mesh networks. The list goes on and on. So I hope we will consider a more extensive approach in the future and understand the grave concern that is the loss of net neutrality. And Mayor Tornick, I also would ask that you reconsider signing the petition, the mayor's petition to support net neutrality. I've approached you about it before. I hope you consider lending your signature to that petition. Thank you.
Ron, just a quick question for you. The FTC net neutrality issue, I kind of lost track of that. Has that decision been made, or is it public comment period right now?
Well, right now, they're forcing a vote, I believe actually tomorrow, to institute the CRA, in which Congress would overturn the FCC's decision. That would have a long path, because it would have to be signed off by Congress, which is, fairly Republican dominated, which is against net neutrality, or restoring net neutrality, and it would also need to be signed by President Trump. States have their own net neutrality bills, including one here in California that we have. That's susceptible to some lawsuits as well. So right now it's kind of in between that limbo period where nothing's been cemented on the books, but net neutrality as we know it is no longer in existence. And AT&T, actually I believe today, took the FTC to the Supreme Court to try to further fight protections that the FTC would instill on internet freedom. So we are sort of in limbo, but yeah. I think something like this is best to be preempted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another question.
That was Ron getting it done at the Pasadena City Council.
Yeah, and that did happen, of course, before Senate did the CRA
exactly.
when I was making those
So
comments.
this was 5. This was 5/8.
This was 5/8.
And then on 5/16 is when the Senate passed their CRA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, internet. Yeah, Ron, great point. If Chattanooga, Tennessee can do this,
They've been doing it for years too. By the way,
we can't somehow I wish we could get some information on how much it costs them to do that. I'm sure that's available.
Well, that's going to be my next steps. I mean, I've been like meeting with some people in the community. There was this guy that I actually met at an event on Saturday having to do with the Lee Camp show. He used to do this work way back in the day before we knew we were going to be faced with these issues. Like back in like 2004, he was on the business end of making this kind of stuff happen. And so I'm going to team up with him, and then I'm going to contact Longmont. I'm going to contact Chattanooga.
Yes.
See what all I can get. See what kind of information I can gather. And I want to reach out to the folks in New York City too. Because, when they threw this $130 million number out there, I'm like, I'm sure for a lot less than that, we could fly this guy from New York City out,
right?
Pay him handsomely, have him pick out which buildings need the super nodes, where the wireless network's going to go, and I bet that would cost less too. And then we're done. So I think we could do this. Plus, not to mention, speaking the city's language, this is a huge investment. Chattanooga has already paid for that investment many times over with the businesses that have invested there because they have this resource available.
I really want to have numbers at my fingers for how much it costs in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Why do we have to do it the most expensive way? Because Beverly Hills is doing it that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do it the most expensive way. That's right, because they're the richest freaking community in the country, probably.
Yeah, well, they even said that in the presentation. They were just like, Beverly Hills is doing it this way, and they have the money for that, and we just don't. It's like, yeah, they can go all out because they have the money set aside for it. Like they have it set aside.
Yeah, they have the money to do it the most expensive way. Mm-hmm. So we don't have that money. We'll do it a more inexpensive way.
Bingo.
It's interesting that Beverly Hills has the money for this. They don't have the money for the Gold Line to go through Beverly Hills.
How?
They don't have the will.
Of course.
Nice.
Put your logo back up, buddy.
So there we go. So no, we're done. We're done with this. There it is. The logo's up for the end of this segment. Our next live Jimmy Dore show is July 1st in Portland, Oregon, and July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. We're doing a live show July 15th in Chicago, Illinois. Go to a link right there for all the tickets to all the live Jimmy Dore shows. Plus, if you can help become a premium member, we give you hours of bonus material every week. Become a patron or a premium member. And if you're on Steam It, we're steaming it right now. Plus, every Saturday, we do a live Super Solid Chat Saturday where it's a live stream and you can ask us questions and we'll answer them back. Every Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for your support.